Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Build Some Lists. This is a type of commentary that I've done, I think, 4 times. So I'm up to episode number 5 on this YouTube channel, and this is the series in which I go into Army Builder and I just casually build some lists. And it's more about what I come up in the spirit of the moment rather than presenting anything that's pre-planned. The emphasis is just to have some fun, explore the options in Infinity Army Builder, and to show you guys my thought process as I'm sort of working my way through the options and sometimes discovering a new thing, sometimes making combinations of new and old. But let's jump into it. We're going to do 3 different lists. And why don't we just start with the new sectorials that have only just come out from the Cold Front Army Pack, the operational subsection for Aleph, also known as Vedic, and also the Tartary. What are they called? The Tartary Army Corps, and then we'll go on to some Ikari later on in the evening. All right, so when it comes to building a sectorial, my style of playing a sectorial is to try and take a link team comprised of the cheapest line troopers and add in the heavy infantry guy or the point man that costs a bit more and becomes a super trooper. And Corvus Belli seemed to be doing that a lot more. So back in the day, Imperial service was quite rare in the fact that they could take 4 Celestial Guards plus the Crane Rank, which was a very successful link team. But nowadays, you're getting more and more of that. So you've got the Dakini link with a Diva or whatever you want to put in there, or the line Kazakhs with a veteran Kazakh, that kind of thing. In Akari, it's Kaisotsus plus the Tanko. So that's generally what I like to do in my list building as well, and all of the lists that we're going to do in this little segment here, this episode, are going to be like that. So, operational subsection, I really feel like the most powerful thing that this sectorial can do is to make the Dakinis, right? So let's go straight to Dakini TACBots. Just going to make my face a bit smaller and the view a bit bigger. So put me over here. I think I need to move my camera a little bit. That's a bit better. So Dakini TACBot with HMG is a must. I mean, if you're gonna be playing this sectorial without the Dakini TACBot HMG in the link team, you're gonna need a really good reason why you're not making use of this, because the guy moves 6'4", so he's able to get around the battlefield really quickly, get into position. You can also move 3 inches towards the edge of the corner to poke out, 3 inches back, and you're well away. If you get shot, if they crit, you can quite easily go in there with your Suffotect and revive him, right? Mimetism really makes the shootout way more favored to you. BS11 ignores cover, +3 for the link. It's just insane. Adding to that, I think we'll put in 1 paramedic just because we want to have that specialist in the link. That's going to be quite important. And then 2 basic Dakini TACBot combi rifles. And because you can actually have, oh, holy shit, up to 1 CSU can join any Dakini's fire team. Okay, so instead of putting that guy in, we'll go and put the specialist CSU in there as well with the light shotgun nanopulsar. Just because having a light shotgun in a link team can be really handy if you're late game moving out the whole group of guys way across the table and there's a really good opportunity to blast 3 or 4 guys at once. Your Dakinis can't really do that, but the CSU with the shotgun can, and you might get a little bit of metachemistry helping out the team. So I think that's a really good addition. Coming back to the Dakinis for a minute, so it's up to 2 Diva functionaries. So let's go to the Divas next. There's a good argument for putting 2 Divas in there, but I think for my little list, we'll only put 1 of them in there. Having a Diva in there gives you an option to have Sensor in the midfield. It also gives you an option of moving 1 member of your link team within range to actually shoot something without being hacked. There might be a situation within the middle of the table where you can't really move up with your Dakinis that effectively because there's some sort of hacking zone. So you leave them behind a bit, move the Diva up, and maybe deal with that threat. Diva Multispectral Visor Level 2, they've just come out with a new model which is going to be sculpted, or has been sculpted, which looks like the chick from Team Rocket and Pokemon, which I find quite hilarious. Either way, I never usually rated the Diva Spitfire in just vanilla, but in the context of the Link team, you get a situation where, okay, you may be moving across the table with your all-powerful Dakini TACbot HMG with assisted fire. And then there's this problem where people start throwing smoke grenades left and right, and you might be left ineffective and not getting the kills you needed to, even though you invested all of that time, points, orders. Whereas with the D.Va Multispectral Visor Level 2, you're going out there, BS-15, 5 dice, ignoring all the smoke grenades and so forth. It's also a lot better to use something like that to crack an avatar or a cutter than it is to use the Dakini TACbot HMG in that specific scenario. So having that tool within the Link team, I think, is quite powerful. I also looked at putting a secondary D.Va in there, maybe as a forward observer or a sensor, but with the CSU already and the Dakini Paramedic already sort of fulfilling that role a little bit, I'm not really sure that we need the secondary D.Va. So for this list, we're just going to go with the one D.Va. Okay, net rods, you can take 2 of them. No reason why not to take the net rods unless you're going for a limited session style list. Andromeda, I really like the Superior Infiltration Submachine Gun Andromeda. I'm not really sure if she's fully worth it, but we might include her in this list. I'll build the rest of the list, and then we can cut her out if she's not really fitting in. But the idea is that Superior Infiltration, you've got a 75% chance of her landing on the other side of the table as a reserve model and actually starting to get some hits. She's got some survivability there with NWI. And as long as you're the one attacking, you can pick targets that don't have any sort of shock or mines, right? So she's a maybe. She can also be pretty good in close combat with CC20 and guards, as long as you pick your targets. I'm not saying she's worth their points at 31, but let's consider her at least, since they've really tried hard to make her a lot better. Asparis, I like the idea of them, but again, I think just the straight up Dakinis with assisted fire are going to be better than using jumper level Z. And as far as killer hacking goes, there are other things in the sectorial that you can kill a hack with. So my normal post-human setup when I play vanilla Aleph is to take the hacker, the super cheap hacker, 14 points as part of the proxy for being able to put assisted fire down. You'd always take a post-human Mark II because that's the most broken of the post-humans, and you definitely take the multi-sniper rifle because the Mark II assault hacker in the middle of the table, I feel like role can be achieved. The specialist, hidden deployment specialist role can be achieved in other ways. Speaking of other ways, I normally like to take a forward observing Dazu, although we'll look back at the Dazu later. I'm definitely going to go for Killer Hacker Naga. And a lot of the time I'd be taking a post-human Proxy Mark IV with the HMG, but this is a sectorial and we may not have the SWCs for it. I'll just pop him in for now, and we'll see later if he needs to be removed. So what else might we want to include? I really like the Yadu Trooper. Sorry, not the Yadu Trooper. I'm looking for the Shukra Consultant for the counterintelligence and chain of command. So if we go with this guy here, you could take Lieutenant Strategos, I guess. That's quite interesting, actually. So would you want to go with chain of command and take a really powerful combat lieutenant? Or would you want to go straight for the Strategos and have that combination of him providing his additional order and counterintelligence being there? Just depends on whether you want to put a D.Va out there, but if the D.Va is going to be part of the Link team, then it's not going to be breaking out the Link team with a lieutenant order a lot of the time. So if we go back to the Shukra Consultant and go Lieutenant Shukra, I'll put my proxies in group 2 and my net rods in group 2. And then the Shukra can come into group 1. So I'll also take a couple of flashball spots because I really need to have some cheerleaders in there. So a couple of Lamed rebots. So what I'm trying to create here, what I'm trying to build is a list where you've got counterintelligence going. So they can only remove a maximum of 1 order from your pool at the get-go. So you've got a 10 order group to do the damage with. -1 for counterintelligence, sorry, -1 for the strategic use of the command token. And then you're going back up to 10 because you've got Strategos level 1 there. So even though you're not playing a limited session list, you've got a 10 order Alpha Strike with your Dakini TACbots. So first turn, You are putting assisted fire on the Dakini TACBot HMG with your proxy hacker from Group 2, and then you're spending 10 orders to just move out with the Dakini Link team and just trying to shred as much as you can. If your opponent's putting up a lot of ARO pieces, you go and you gun them all down first, and then you pull back to safety. If they're hiding everything, that's when you move across the table. And I think the beauty of that is that you've got 10 full orders to just mow people down, and smoke's not going to stop you because of the D.Va MSV2. And if they come out with a like an MSV2 sniper halfway across the table, maybe kill one Dakini with that shot, then your D.Va's going to go back and gun that down. And then, of course, you'd probably just put a Sophotect in there. And in fact, magically, that completes the slot of 300 points. I actually quite like that, actually. So if they've got a really powerful ARO piece, maybe something like another missile launcher at a link team, for example, what you do is you set up, so you've got your Dakini with assisted fire on it with HMG. You move 3 inches to the side of the wall to just poke out against the missile launcher, and then come back. It shoots at you at that particular point. If it gets a crit, your Dakini probably goes into unconscious level 2 at the point way away from the wall. Your Sophotect can then move up and revive it, and then Dakini activates again back in the link team and goes and tries again. And if you've got multiple attempts, you're almost always going to destroy that powerful ARO piece. So this list actually worked out quite well. I don't really even feel like I want to remove Andromeda or the Proxy Mark IV just yet, because the Proxy Mark IV is just such a good ARO piece, and you've got nothing in the link team that really is good at AROing. You can use the HMG with assisted fire, but it is going to get shot down by anything really dedicated, right? But the Proxy the Proxy Mark IV. Oh, hang on a sec. I chose the wrong one. I was meant to pick the heavy rocket launcher, so that actually gives me an extra 5 points. So yeah, I mean, you could upgrade something in here, or you could put a Warcore in there. Can you take a Warcore? Oh yeah, they've just changed the icon of the Warcore, so it's black and white for some reason. So there is something else in this list that you could upgrade to 15 points. Maybe you give this guy, or increase this to something else, another TACBot paramedic, or whatever you want to do. The Lamed Reambot over here could even be maybe another CSU. No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't. No, it couldn't. As I was saying, though, that it's quite powerful that you can go for a fully committing, Alpha Strike push with that Dakini group. Andromeda. Okay, so maybe we don't want her in there. If she fails her infiltration roll, it's not the end of the world. If she passes it, she might get a couple of good spots, and you can just spend a lot of orders on her instead of the Dakini Link team. If you're not a fan of that, and to be honest, if I was desperately trying to win as many games as I possibly could, I probably wouldn't take Andromeda, just because she's still a bit overcosted for what she's supposed to do, and I might just go ahead and take another Naga, or maybe even some sort of Dazyu if I could afford it. So I could put in a Dazyu, Forward Observer, and take out the Warcore. So I think this probably is a better way to go. You've only got 4 regular orders in Group 2, but you're always going to make use out of them, given all of the proxies and the Sophotect being there. You can do stuff with them. And the Dazyu Forward Observer, I think, is just a bit more clutch than than Andromeda is, just because otherwise you're just relying on that Naga hacker for all of the button pressing and specialist work, whereas the Dazyu, I think, is the fact that you can get away with hidden deployment and do button pressing later in the game, unless your opponent somehow managed to censor in exactly the right spot, and if you're deploying that far out the board, it's just really, really quite powerful. All right, so this has been my first run through with Subsection on YouTube. I haven't talked about a lot of the other profiles. Yeah, of course, you can make some really cool, Haris link teams with the bots and so forth, but nothing's really jumped out at me as being specifically powerful. I just really like the idea of Dakini's being on a link. But of course, I mean, there's just so much other stuff that you can do with this sectorial. I'm not going to cover all of it in one video. This is just a view on how I personally would make a list in my own style playing this sectorial. I may even run this for a few games with a few proxied units, not so much the proxies per se, but proxied units using other models to represent these Dakinis and whatnot. So yeah, looking pretty cool. I'm also still going to play a fair bit of vanilla LF because I like Achilles. Dart, I just wanted to quickly say that Dart's like her arsenal of abilities is really, really good, but she's not a specialist. So, yeah, I mean, is it a matter of doing a lot of work with her, or would you rather spend all of your orders on like the link teams? It's just hard to say. I mean, she's really, really good. Is she good enough to justify that 34-point slot? And are you going to get that much done with her that you don't want to go ahead and take a Dazu instead, which arguably has better potential? I don't really know. Anyway, that was a look at the operations subsection of the Triple S. To the Tartary Army Corps. Now, I don't play Aleph. Sorry, I do play Aleph. I don't play any Ariadna. I occasionally have the odd game against Ariadna, but not very often. And I haven't spent very much time examining all of the options in this in detail. But I'll give it a go just for the sake of you guys. You know that I love you. So, like I was saying before, one of the strongest things about any sectorial, if the sectorial can achieve it, is the combination of the cheap line infantry, in this case line Kazakhs, plus something pretty powerful that can join it. Now, straight away you've got the Frontovic, which can join it. So this guy, pretty cool, BS-12 mimetism, can take a whole really cool arsenal of guns. Having said that, even though this guy is good, my personal preference, just me, is to actually go for the veteran Kazakh because it says that he can join any fire team at all. So my my preference is to use him a little bit like the grey rifle is used in Caledonia and have him join the cheap guys. So if you take the veteran Kazakh plus a specialist line Kazakh, I guess a missile launcher for the defensive, benefit, and maybe just a basic cheap line Kazakh. I read somewhere else that Voronin can be joining any link team as well, so we might put him in there as well. I was going to talk about him. Here's Yevgeny Voronin, and we'll take the T2 boarding shotgun sensor lieutenant. So we've spent 104 points on the link. That's okay. There's a lot of other cheap units in Ariadna. And the power of this is that you can hide everybody, and then when it's your turn to attack, you move the veteran Kazakh to gun anything down that's basically trying to defend. So missile launcher to link team over there, TR bot over there, whatever it is that's going to be defending, you use your veteran Kazakh. And even if it's a tag, you don't really want to be putting your tag in the way of, BS-16, mimetism, AP, HMG, 5 dice kind of guy. So that's the real strength of this link team, first and foremost. This guy is very much like a 2-wound model in the sense that he's got NWI and he's got shock immunity. The main difference between this guy and, say, just a heavy infantry model that has 2 wounds outright is that he can't take 2 wounds directly and then be revived, nor can he just take a 1 wound and then be healed up. So you've got to be kind of careful there. If you're looking at a unit like the Tanko, for example, in the Kaisotsus, the Tanko's a little bit better defensively because if they do reduce him to unconscious, he can be brought back with a doctor, but the veteran Kazakh can't. So just be careful about that. But I think he's a real bargain for 47 points given the context. You've got NWI, shock immunity, and mimetism, and that link team with BS-13 just is incredible. Now, the missile launcher, you may want to use your SWCs elsewhere in the list, especially if you're going to go for guys like Plushenko, the tank kind of character. Some of these guys, or the Ratnik, some of these guys take quite a lot of SWCs. With Voronin, again, this is a similar sort of thing that I mentioned in the last list that we built for Aleph, and that is that if you're in a clutch situation where it's finally time to move out in the last turn of the game and go and get some really crucial kills to swing the army points back to you or kill a data tracker, you might get into a spot where you have to shoot at close range. And none of these guys are good at doing that. Even the veteran Kazakh with heavy pistol is not going to be good as Voronin with his T2 boarding shotgun, which can really mess you up in close quarters if you're backed up with a 5-man link team. He's a little bit awkward with his silhouette value, but we're just going to let that slide. With being a lieutenant, He's got Strategos level 1, I guess, so normally I wouldn't take him. I don't think 21 points is as good as just taking 2 basic cheerleaders, but to be able to put him in the link team means that you're getting a little bit more value than normal because of the T2 boarding shotgun and the link bonuses. And he's also got sensor as well. So I guess if you're moving through the table and you suspect the presence of, hidden deployment trooper, or there's just a camo mark you need to reveal, I think he might be worth it. I'm just not sure. I don't know fully whether I would take Vroin in the long run. I just like the look of him with the changes to the sectorial. So we can take a 111, a 111 emergency service for being a doctor, or we could take a Kazakh doctor, which is a bit more expensive. I'm going to go with this guy since he's a point cheaper and the same willpower. Yeah, I can't really see too many other reasons. I guess you'd have a rifle with the other doctor. This guy's got courage. Yeah, he's got better physical. We'll go with a 112 for now. So I do like the Dozer with Tractor, a more control device, just because you can go with the double Minesweeper. In my case, I quite like taking that just for the really cheap orders and regular orders, and they're only silhouette. Oh, the silhouette 4. Okay, so they do take up a fair bit of space. Maybe they're not worth it then. There's the other Tractor mold you could take though, and you're investing quite a lot of SWCs. So if you really like these, go for it by all means. They can be supported by the War Driver, but again, you pay quite a lot of SWCs for this War Driver, so I'm just not sure if it's worth it. But that's my particular setup there. Just going to find spots for them to hide. Now, the next thing I would always want to take, if I can take it, is the Spetsnaz HMG. So you've already got the Veteran Kazakh, which is extremely good at that heavy machine gun clearance. The Spetsnaz provides the ability to do that from sort of an ambush state, from an angle they may not be expecting. It does it with shock as well, so there are going to be some situations where the Spetsnaz actually is better at attacking than the Veteran Kazakh. And it's not a bad idea to have those 2 HMGs there, because your Veteran Kazakh is going to be stuck being deployed at whatever part of your deployment zone the link team needs to be in, and your opponent, if they're very clever, might work out in advance where you have to put your link team because there's no other suitable spot. Whereas the Spetsnaz isn't really pinned down as much and can pick up a different position. That's why I really quite like him there. The other model which I thought was really quite cool is this new Dynamo. So this new Dynamo is a regular bike that doesn't suffer from impetuous at all. So you don't go charging off into the enemy, you don't have to restrain it, and yet it still plants down smoke grenades, which is amazing, and can benefit from cover. It's not as fast as a regular bike, but 8.4, I mean, you hardly need more than that. The Molotov is, quite close to a Spitfire in terms of its power. And it's even got a mine dispenser there as well at physical 12, and you've got Dogged as well. So I like to compare this to a Aragoto Spitfire, except this is more expensive, and it's more expensive for a reason. It's actually a lot better than an Aragoto Spitfire, because you're not having to, you're trading effectively, you don't get mimetism, but you get cover instead, which is something I'd rather have because that's +3 armor effectively. It's not that hard to just find somewhere to attack from that has that cover. And you've got Dogged, which is way more useful for those attack runs, right? So the Aragotos can't really do that. And then you've got smokes and dispensers. So I definitely think, if I had the option to take either this or the Aragoto, keeping the points the same, I would always go for the Dynamo. One other very intriguing unit that came out recently is the Strelo K. I think that's how it's pronounced. I might be wrong though, I'm not from Europe. I think the most intriguing profile of the lot of these is the submachine gun plus K9 Antipode. So the idea is that she's a bit like Dart. She's something which deploys out in the midfield and is not a specialist, but the girl and the dog are both in camo state. You've got that combination of submachine gun and chain colt. So once you come out of camo, well, you can surprise attack with a submachine gun if you want to. You do that from cover. It's not like a Krakot where you give up cover. And if you do want to be uncamoed and just come around the corner, you might be able to pull a move where the K9 moves into close combat and you shoot it at the same time, or just the Strelo K comes around the corner, they have to dodge or attack back. You choose between submachine gun and chain colt. You can put down a mine before you come around the corner, so she can be very powerful in the midfield. My only concern with her is that she's not doing any specialist work, and with one wound, she could quite easily trade with an enemy model, that might just fire it back with a direct template weapon, or have a mine nearby, or just pick up some random arrow and just cark it, just die. And she's quite a lot of points, 24 plus 8, or is it 24 including 8? I'm not sure. Either way, she's very expensive, but very cool at the same time. Really quite like her. So we've spent all of our SWCs in this list. What else was I looking at taking in my my tag? I don't like the Ratnik. Not a big fan of the Ratnik. Scouts. Well, this list. This sectorial. One weakness which I perceive with the sectorial is that you don't have access to the Foxtrots and the SAS troopers and the chasseurs, so you don't really have an infiltrating specialist except for the scout, and you pay quite a lot of points for a forward observer with an Ojotnik. The Ojotnik's not really ideal in the sense that, yeah, it's kind of a good gun, but you want to be paying for a model with a cheap gun. That's why you go for like a ninja with a tactical bow, is because you get all the benefits of a ninja and the specialization of the ninja, but without having to pay a lot of points for it. Whereas this guy sort of just comes with an Ojotnik. So I guess you probably should take a scout, maybe instead of the Strelok even, especially for button pressing missions. Maybe not so much needed in missions where you don't have to do a lot of specialist work though. I think any sectorial that can take a dog warrior probably should, and in this case, it probably should be in Group 1 as well, because you want to be alpha striking with this guy and committing as much damage as possible. We'll put the 112 in the second group. Ermandinos, yeah, these guys are gold. So you've got Smokes, very, very good at throwing smoke grenades down. It's a specialist. It's got a chain rifle, good in close combat. These guys are amazing. You probably should take several of these guys. I'm going to take one of them for now. We could add more of them if we wanted. Carmen Johns. So this is like a biker that comes with an Antipode. It is pretty cool. If you've already got the other bike in the list, you may not need it as much. It's nice how she's got Dogged as well. So nothing wrong with this bike. I'm just not sold on it for this particular list that I'm making right now. Vasily Plushenko, yeah, he's really cool. Only one SWC. He's got chain of command as well. He's pretty good at sniping back. He's like a super-powered Cataran in some ways. I was playing around with this list earlier today, and I came up with some combinations of 300 that I was quite happy with. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what if we go back and we put in the scout? We take a forward observer scout here. Is that too much? Yeah, oh no, actually what I did in my practice list here was I put in the assault pack. And then you've got an extra 3 points to put in a war core if you wanted it, for example. So then it's just a matter of being quite careful with the groups. So yeah, the Dynamo should surely be in Group 1. I think the Dozer and the Tractor Mauls should come back to Group 2, since they're really just going to be providing extra orders. And then we'll put the Strelok into Group 1 as well, since she may only need 1 or 2 orders to be effective from her position, right? And we'll put the 112 back into Group 1. So we've got a perfectly rounded 300 point list, 6 SWCs. So this, in terms of attacking potential, say we've got first turn, we just want to try and get an alpha strike done. You send in the Dog Warrior. You could pick off a couple of arrows with the Dynamo first, or the Veteran Kazakh, or the Spetsnaz, because you're covering so many different angles across the table. You've got those fire lanes covered. So if they've got Warcores poking out, or a Link team poking out over the parapets, or something like that, you've got the guns to clear anything covering the table. Then the Dog Warrior goes in with the rest of the orders. If they've stripped a couple of orders off you, you've got the Strategos for the Dog Warrior, so you commit a bit of damage there. With Group 2, really you could just be setting up shop somewhere, or just sending all of the Antipodes in the wake of the Dog Warrior after he's opened a bit of a hole for you to move them in. Alternatively, I suppose you could put Strelok into Streloke into Group 2 and get some midfield work done from that point. But I think the Assault Pack, I think if you're going to be spending any orders on them, just trying to get them into close combat or something or in the way is going to be quite powerful. Again, in terms of button pressing, you haven't got a lot here. It's not great for that, but you could just recalibrate the list if you're going for some missions which are going to require a lot of that. Defensively, you can prop up the missile launcher. Well, I don't really like using the missile launcher straight away because he's one of the weakest things in this team. Just Ballistical 11, no Momentous or anything like that. But later on in the game, if you set him up in a better spot after they've run out of shots, things to kill him with, he could be quite powerful. Overall, I think this sectorial is quite average. I don't think that it's really more powerful than Vanilla Ariadna, because Vanilla Ariadna to me is very, very strong due to the combination of, not just a dog warrior here, but you've got, almost 20 regular orders if you want it. You've got plenty of infiltrating specialists. You've still got the Spetsnaz in there. So I don't think Tartary are as good as Vanilla Ariadna, in my opinion. But this kind of setup is quite fun. It's very powerful. Yeah, and I haven't really explored any of the other Link teams, but you can do a lot with the Frontovix, apparently. So yeah, have a bit of fun with it. Saved a Ikari list recently, which I think is quite an unorthodox list. And that's because there are two choices which I would very rarely take, if ever. One of them is the Luduan, and the other one is the Ninja with multi-sniper rifle. Everything else on the list is basically what I always take anyway. But the Luduan, you wouldn't use him for Hollow Echo 2, you'd use him for Hollow Echo 1. One way you can do it is pretend that he's a Rushi, which is the kind of thing you'd normally expect in this list. And when your opponent is counting up the SWCs, the ninjas in hidden deployment, so they're expecting the Luduan to be the model with the SWCs. So you move the Rishi around, and it might prevent people from throwing smoke because they think that you can shoot through it. And then when they just opt for a normal dodge, you start shooting them with the Mark 12, and they are surprised by that. Also, if you use the Luduan to Hollow Echo as a Pangwilling Evo repeater, your opponent may think that you're running a list with lots and lots of Yuan ones, so they're deploying a bit more defensively than they need to, so you can throw them off that way. That can be quite funny. With the Ninja multi-sniper rifle, you're going to deploy it way out in the field to the side, and if it doesn't find any spots to catch the enemy off guard with that multi-sniper rifle coming out of nowhere, they may deploy models near to it and you can attack in close combat anyway. Now, it's not a specialist, but there are other things in the list which can provide that button pressing value. It's a bit of a trap, really, that you're trying to set for your opponent. It's really something I've come up with to potentially use against people who are used to playing against me, who are used to playing against lists which are written in a sort of optimal way, and will make certain assumptions about this list which are incorrect. So that's a bit of a fun, unorthodox list that I made. The real list that I want to sort of focus on is one that I created here with a lot of Yuan. So in Group 2, you've got the Pangwilling Evo Hacker. And this is the list that you're sort of pretending to be running once you've got the Luduan here. But if you don't have the Luduan, you've got the Pangwilling Evo Hacker with 4 Yuan. And the idea is to keep the Pangwilling alive or to get first turn. And you drop all the Yuan in with a new change to AD airborne deployment in Season 10. They're much easier to land in specific places. Now, they're -3 to their physical stat, but +3 for control jump from the Pangwilling Evo Hacker. So they're landing on 14s, and if they've got a hacker for control jump, hack transport, well, they're just rolling at -6. So you're mostly going to win and land the Yuan. And then because they still have their irregular order after they land, because they are models that are off the table still generate orders, they're going to be able to attack with their chain rifle /pistol /whatever they pick up from booty. So that can be quite effective. And then on top of that, you've still got the Rushi and everything else there with the Kaisotsus and all that fun stuff. I've got a Sierra John bot in there just because There is a bit of a need for HMGs in Ikari, and unless you're going to invest in something like the Wu Ming or the Alpha Seed, which I don't really want to, the Sierra John Bot is a good way of getting that. I've even got a Bashi Bazook there, which it might seem quite comical with there already being 4 drop troopers, but the thought is that the Yuan Yuans come in first impetuously. They may be able to open up a bit of a hole in your opponent's defenses, and everything down here is group 2, right? So after the Yuan Yuans all impetuous down on the table, spend their irregular orders, opening up with chain rifles and pistols and whatever they manage to pick up, maybe even grenades or things from the booty table. After the smoke is cleared, you might have actually got rid of a couple of models which are defending the side of the table, and then you can move in with the Bashi Bazooka on the side and spend all of Group 1's orders moving into positions to shoot up your opponent with a submachine gun. If there really is no such opportunity, then you just run along with the Rushi and kill them that way. And the Pangoling's there to provide assisted fire to either the Rushi or the Sierra John Bot, whichever of the two are going to be doing the work. So this is a list I might be playing a bit more in future. But for now, this has been another episode of Let's Build Some Lists. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We took a brief sort of tour through my thoughts of the new Vedic sectorial operations subsection, the Tartary Armored Corps, and of course more Ikari Company, the main faction I've been playing lately. Hope you guys had a bit of fun sort of following along as I investigated some list building, and we'll see you guys again later in the week for some more bat reps.